Welcome back to my channel, and if you didn't see the last video then it'll be linked below, so make sure you go and see it. It was basically a part 1 to this little two-part on GCSEs, and it was talking about general revision, generally how I was in the year, generally what I did, and today I'm going to talk through all the subjects I did. If you want to know more about my results, then I'll have my results video linked down below as well, as always. And then I'm just going to get started, and I will have timestamps as well of the different subjects, so if you're not doing some of them you can just skip and see the ones that you want to see. Okay, so let's talk about English, and I'm going to talk about English and Maths first. I know, like I said, everything is old spec, but so I'm going to avoid talking about particular exams because I don't know how the new exams work. But for English essays, I found the greatest thing was PEE. I know it's so basic and everyone uses it, but it really is that simple. Point, evidence, explanation. You make your point, you find your evidence in the text, and then you explain your point using the evidence. Top marks usually included context, so if you've got, well, just the context of the text or the poem, and that's always a good thing to add if you can remember. So for example, of Mice and Men, the context was like the Great Depression in America. There was also like racism you could talk about, and I can't really remember, it's been a while, but things like that. And that's always a good thing to chuck in for like more marks. What they always say is you have to be perceptive, and my understanding of that was just to go really deep. Like, don't, like, the basic things are like, oh, Curly's wife wears red because she's dangerous, it symbolises danger, and it's like everyone will write that, so you've got to go really, really deep, and then you can talk about, I don't know, red is in the American flag and she's American, do you know what I mean? Like, just basically you can make up a lot of crap that you're thinking, I bet the author never meant this, but it's not about that, it's about how deep can you make it. Like, it's not about waffling, it's just about being really deep. Like, it's not actually deep, but it's just like, can you really like string anything out of one word? And pretty much for evidence, like, is using quotes from the book or the poem or whatever it is. Poems are definitely easy to go a lot deep because usually they don't make much sense anyway. That's what I thought. So it's a lot easier to sort of twist meanings of things and suggest things like that. So basically just be as deep and as ridiculous as you can, but make sure you have evidence to back it up, and you can basically say whatever you want. In general, when I would like to revise, I would just do essay plans. I wouldn't write, like, my writing ability was okay, I'm not an amazing writer in any way, but after a few practices I was like, okay, in general my writing makes sense. The most important thing is the points. Spelling and grammar, of course they're worth marks, but the most important thing are the points that you're making. And I would just do essay plans for every past paper there was, and make sure that I just knew them, and the essay plans would just consist of my points. I always knew, because I had the book, that I could find the evidence that I wanted in the text. But obviously if it is a closed book and you don't have the book, then also with your points memorise your examples, like your quotes from whatever the text is. And in general I think that should be fine. Like, from poetry I just memorised every single essay plan because we had to do like comparisons. Every single possible one that could come up, I memorised my essay plan, and it was literally just like 5 or 6 words. And then just to add also your evidence, I don't think it would be too difficult. Like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want to do that, but I don't think it would be too bad. Yeah, English, I didn't even read the whole of Pride and Prejudice. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and I basically knew a few excerpts, is that the word, from the text really well, and I knew I could apply them for loads of different themes, because the essay question would be like, write an examples of pride or prejudice, or I can't remember, usually it was like wealth, inequality, stuff like that, love even. Our one was prejudice, which was really lucky because the whole book is about pride and prejudice. It's really good. TV programmes and adaptations of stories are really good, I think, because it's I found it a lot easier to remember storylines if I'd watched the films of them, just to remember the overall story. But obviously you need to know the text. But like I said, if you've got a few really good passages or whatever, then extracts, then that'll help. And if you can try and think of many different ways you can apply them, you can sort of rely on having the same ones. For maths, I purely did exam questions, just exam papers. I wasn't too bad with time, so I didn't do them in time conditions, but if you do struggle with time, you have to do it in time conditions. And also I would do loads of the really hard questions and focus on the hard questions, which was usually trigonometry, vectors, yeah, stuff like that. I don't really remember now, but basically just focus on that. I think with maths, it is really a case of what you put in is what you'll get out. You just have to spend a lot of time doing questions over and over again and really look at mark schemes. I think we weren't given the opportunity to mark our own papers enough, and it's really useful to mark your own papers. Obviously, every now and again, yes, it'll be great if a teacher marks it, you can get what they think you'll get marks for, but it's really important to know. You should be able to see like the answer of a question and know, okay, well, this part was right, this part was wrong, this part I would have got marked for, and to know it. And I think definitely with the new spec, because the mark schemes have changed, really important to understand the marking and the mark schemes. It's just essential, I guess. So for all my sciences, I solely used or mainly used the CGP revision guides. I think that they're amazing. I would be constantly revising content because there was a lot of content. I also did all the past papers there were, redid some past papers that I had originally done like a long time ago, but all whilst constantly revising the content. Literally that was the best thing to do, and really studying the mark schemes. I didn't understand much of P3. There was a topic about electromagnetic induction I didn't understand, so for when a question would be like, what is this, or like questions that are just set, no context, set questions, the mark scheme answers I would memorize that as opposed to what was in the revision guide, just because I knew that would be what's getting the marks. They don't have questions like that for everything. They don't ask what is this, how does this work for a lot of things. They're like in context and stuff, so that would be when I would use a revision guide to learn those topics. But if there was ever questions like that where it was just what is this, how does this work, really like basic questions, simple questions, the mark scheme answers, I would memorize them, because that would be obviously what will get you marks in the exam. RE was quite easy. I think for us it was essentially the definitions was the most memorization you had to learn. We did Christianity and Islam, which to be fair were pretty similar, and there was very little things that were different between them in terms of like their beliefs. So beliefs on abortion, quite similar, sex before marriage, quite similar. All these things, they were very similar, so it was almost like learning one religion. But in general it was about your opinion, and all you had to do was just to really explain your points and back up your points. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's easy, it's just your opinion, but you really have to explain your opinion to get the marks and like go to town. And sometimes it's easier to not say your opinion but to say things you have more points for. So if it's asking your opinion on abortion, can I think of 3 points why I'm for abortion? Maybe not. But can I think of 3 points why other people are against abortion? Yes, maybe I can. So sometimes it's just about knowing pros and cons, different sides of argument, basically that, which for me is usually quite easy to remember, but you just have to memorize that. And yeah, like the essays were not really essays, so there wasn't much, like you didn't need introduction, conclusion or anything like that. It's quite straightforward. For geography, it was a bit of a weird one because it was like a science and also it had essays in it. So for the science, like for the content stuff, I would revise it like a science using the revision guide, just memorizing it, writing it out. But with geography, you could pretty much, it's kind of like REs, like for a lot of the time you could say what you wanted. There were questions that were specific, what is longshore drift, draw a diagram of this, but there were a lot of questions that was like, oh, there's erosion in the town, what should we do? I don't think that makes sense, but like you basically could just state your opinion and just backing it up with facts and figures, with specific examples. It's a really good thing to do. In general, just knowing your content is really important. For the essay-based questions, it was mostly like making sure that you really go to town in explaining yourself. There's nothing wrong with writing loads, but the explanation is what gets you the mark, not the point or the evidence. It's the explanation that really gets you the mark. So really going to town and explaining everything and bringing in different points of view and all that is really like what gets you the high mark. So it's the most important thing. The case studies, for our spec at least, memorising facts and figures, that was something we did right towards the exam, but just memorising numbers and things like that, that was essential. History was the one I got an A in, and quite difficult because there is a lot of content in history and none of it is irrelevant, which is annoying, but I sort of approached it with the essay plans mentality of just doing loads of essay plans and then also, okay, this is a good fact that will go in here, this is a good piece of content, this is something I can reference. So the essay plans were a lot harder to write than English because there was a lot of like cross-referencing and stuff like that, which was, I don't know if cross-referencing is the right word, but there was a lot of stuff like that which is a lot more difficult than in English, where you're just really looking at one text, whereas the essays in history you're looking at time periods and you can talk about loads of stuff to back up your point, which is really difficult, and I really struggled. I struggled pretty much the whole year. Things like, if there is any coursework in these subjects, then you will make sure you really try and get full marks in your coursework because it will just help you out in the long term. But yeah, history was very difficult. Timelines are really useful, and like to this day I can remember a lot of dates when a lot of things happened. So definitely knowing when things happen is really good for explaining why things happen, because you can remember what came before, so what led up to an event or something happening, which is definitely really useful in explaining why it happened. And then finally, for French and Spanish, my biggest tip would be just bang out your coursework, because if you've got, it's like 50%, so if you really go to town, then it should be fine. And then just do past papers. There's not really anything else you can do. Like I don't think you need to do loads of vocab learning and stuff, because I mean, I didn't find that I was really learning loads of vocab helped me in any way, because it was the same things. They try to trick you a lot, so really be aware. And knowing like your infinitives is really useful to figure out what things mean. I think, to be honest, having a really good understanding of the English language really helps in languages. I think it's a hard one because a lot of people don't do too well in languages, but honestly, like just doing past papers, the same sort of things get asked, you'll learn words from it, you'll learn, do you know what I mean? There are actually booklets or like a document online which tells you all the vocab that you should know, so that's actually quite a good thing to go through. Didn't do that for French, but I did for Spanish, and then anything you're not sure you can just look up, and that's all the vocab you have to know. They're obviously going to test you on vocab you don't know, so there's no way you can prepare and learn every single word. It's about the context of the sentence and understanding the meaning from that, which you can do by like just doing past papers. Okay, so that's the end of the video. If you have any questions or anything, please do let me know. Remember to subscribe and like the video if you liked it, and yeah, if you want any advice, any queries about A-levels, about even university, about GCSEs, then please do just write in the comments, or my social media is always linked, so you can contact me on any of them. It's absolutely fine, because I'll be happy to help with however I can. But that's the end of this video. If you have anything that you disagree with or that you did differently, please share it, because everyone is different. It's purely my experience, and we can all share these things together. So that's the end of the video. I think I'm gonna order a pizza now. My throat's really hurting from talking so much and I'm hungry. But yeah, that's the end of the video. So I'll see you all next time, my next video, which may be me at university, maybe. But that'll be it. So I'll see you all later. Bye.